Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Agents in Action. This week, we're talking with Raul. He's one of our QA engineers at SmythOS, and we're going to be doing from zero to agent, this hands-on SmythOS SaaS offering that we have. So today, we're going to be able to go through getting started, our hands-on agent building, testing and deployment. We want you to have confidence to build more. And then we're going to have an interactive Q&A at the end of this. So with that, if you've got questions during this webinar, we want you to either put them if you're on the webinar with us in Zoom, thank you, welcome. We want you to put your, we want you to put your questions in the channel. If you're watching us on the live stream on YouTube, you can put your questions there. So please let us know what your thoughts are as we get through this. And with that, Raul, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell folks a little bit about you and what you do at SmythOS, and then what you're going to share with everybody. And I'll stop sharing my screen so you can share yours.
Okay, I'm going to start. Let me share my screen. Okay, so, well, yeah, I'm part of the QA team, and well, in this opportunity, we're going to get into the basics of the SmythOS application. Really exploring all the features that we have in the application, and we're creating some really simple agents so everyone can understand how create or build agents, and well, the ways that we can share on or use them in different platforms. Okay, so let's start by just, well, this is the homepage of the SmythOS. From here, you can just click on try it free, and you can just use your Google account, or you can use your email and set up a password to sign up, and you're going to get a free account. So once you complete the registration, you're just going to get this kind of homepage. Now, all the free accounts comes with some credits. For free accounts, they come with $5 credits, and you can use those credits with all the features that you have in the application. And those credits are going to be restarted monthly. So it is, I think, with enough credits to start exploring the application. So let's also talk about the credits, because all the plans comes with different kind of credits, different kind of features, differences. So as I said, the free accounts, they come with $5 credits. And in here, if you go to the plans page, you will see all the details of all the other plans that we have available. And well, the difference can be the amount of credits that each plan has, the number of free seats that each plan has. Well, by the way, these numbers, 3 seats included, this means that, well, you have some free seats available, but you can keep adding more people on your account if you wanted. The only difference is that, yeah, you're going to pay some extra for those extra seats, and that's it. And also, well, the data storage, you will get more storage depending on each plan. Now, these credits are going to consume when you use the features on the application. So let's see what kind of features are going to consume those credits. So first, in the homepage, we have this big form, which is asking like, what agent do you want to build? This is automatically connected to Agent Weaver. Agent Weaver is our feature, is an AI agent inside the application that basically can build agents. So you can just prompt in here what's the agent that you want to build. Also, you have the option to attach some image, so you can even draw a diagram of the workflow that you have in mind about the agent you want to build, provide that image, And Agent Weaver also is going to be able to analyze it and build an agent based on that attachment. So Agent Weaver, the use of Agent Weaver is going to consume some credits. So, well, let's explore Agent Weaver a bit. I'm just going to prompt a really simple prompt, build an agent. So I'm just going to be redirected to the builder page. So a new agent was created. And in here on the left sidebar, I have Agent Weaver with the prompt that I just sent from the home page. And now, well, Agent Weaver is going to be able to generate the agent that I want. So as I said, the use of this Agent Weaver is going to consume some credits. And while the agent is being built, you can track all the use of your account. Let's go back to the home page in the analytics page. Here in the analytics page, you can track all the use of your account, and it is classified like you can easily see and the classifications like the consume is from task, Agent Weaver, LLMs, tools, code, image generation. In here, you can track all the information about the use of your account. So based on this, you can see that we have a classification that is called tasks. So let's go back here. Let's wait until the agent is finished, and then we can see what means a task. Okay, here Agent Weaver is just asking or waiting for my approval to create the agent. So in this case, this agent is not going to need any extra information, but in the case if the agent that you are requesting needs some external service, and it's going to need, I don't know, some API keys, well, Agent Weaver is going to ask for that, like how to proceed, if you want to just use some placeholder meanwhile, or if you want to provide directly some API keys so Agent Weaver can proceed. But in this case, this is a simple agent, so Agent Weaver has everything to build the agent. So you can see that the building is in process. Okay, so this is the agent. And here in this diagram and the canvas, you can see like the structure of this, like all these workflows are connected to this card. So this is displayed in this way, so it can be easy to notice how an agent works. So you can think of this card, this main card, like the agent card. This is your agent. This is like the orchestrator that is going to execute all those extra skills that are connected to this main card. And yeah, that's how it works. If we click on the agent card, we will have in this sidebar all the settings that we have available for the agent. And here, one important one, besides the agent name, the agent description, it is the default LLM. This is like the LLM that is going to be used in the agent to orchestrate, to execute the agent to perform the task that the users are going to request. And in here below, we have the behavior field. So this behavior field is like the main prompt that is going to be used by the agent to control how the agent is going to behave. Like in here, you can define things like if you want the agent to refuse to talk about certain topics, if you want to define some specific order about how an agent skill needs to be executed, all that information could go in this field. So this behavior field is really important when you are building an agent. Okay. And now let's check the agent skills. Each one of these workflow is one agent skill. That's why all of them are connected to this main card. And each of these blocks is a component of the workflow. And they are connected with these lines, these arrows. So you can see how the execution of this workflow is going to go, like first this, then this, then this. So this kind of way to display the agent is really easy to understand. And so let's go back a bit about this topic of the task. When a task is consumed, a task is equal to one component executed successfully. So let's say that this component is executed, that is going to be counted as one task. And that's going to be displayed also in your analytics that you consume one task. If you want the details about what is the cost of one task, well, yeah, we also have it on the documentation. We have all the details about that. We have plenty of documentation in here. But well, yeah, that's a frequent question that like, what is a task? And a task is consumed only when the component is executed successfully. So if the component failed in the execution, that is not going to consume a task. And another detail is that a task is consumed only when the agent is executed in the production environment. That means after you deploy the agent. So all the component executions that you're going to perform inside of the canvas, those are not going to be counted as tasks. So you can execute the components in here in the canvas while you are developing the agent safely. Then we have the LLMs. So for that, we can just go to the vault. You can go from here, or you also have the same option in here. So in the vault, we have here this section that is called SmythOS Recommends. So all the SmythOS accounts, the free and pay plans, they come with some AI providers. And in here you can see OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and Perplexity. So by default, you have access to all these models. You can use any of the GPT, Claude, Google, Gemini, Sonar models in your agents by default. And the use of these SmythOS models are going to consume credits, and those credits are going to be reflected here in the LLM section. So you will have in detail what model are being used and how much. Then you have here the other section, your own AI models, because, well, yes, you have default models in your account, but if you are already paying for some AI providers, let's say that you have an OpenAI account and you already have an API key, and you just want to keep using that, well, you can just go in this section and you can just add and provide your OpenAI API key in here, and the models from your personal account are going to be used in your agents. So in here, you can see all these AI providers. where you can just bring your own API keys and use it in your account. Then we have the auth connections in the Vault also. Since we are in the Vault, well, let's explain a bit this, because, well, in your agents, maybe you're going to need to connect to some external service, like, for example, if you want to connect to your Google Calendar, to Gmail, or any other external service that uses auth to authenticate and to use those APIs. Well, here in SmythOS, we have a safe way to do that. Like, you just have to add a new connection. You can provide information that you want. We have some default settings in here. For example, if you want to connect to Google, in here you will have some pre-populated information in the settings. You just have to bring your client ID and client secrets and authenticate, and then you can reuse that auth connection in any agent that you want. So it's a really easy way to handle the auth connections, and it in a secure way. And lastly, this API keys section, which is really like the general, if you have sensitive data that you want to keep safe and secure, like an API key, or, well, any sensitive data that you want to save and handle in a secure way, you can just provide that and save that information in here. You just need to provide a name, then the key, and, well, we also have the option to handle scopes if you want to provide a Zapier API key, or if you want to use this key in any API call component, or if it's a Hugging Face API key, or if you want to just this key to be available in all the components, you can just click on the old scope. So that is about the Vault. And let's keep analyzing all these sections in the analytics. Then we have these tools, code, and image generation. Well, the image generation is, well, I think it's easy to understand. It is just the use of the AI models that can generate images. The code and tools, well, we have some special components in the account. Here we have a tools section. So all these components, the use of these components are going to be reflected in here in that tools section. And the code, we have a component that is called Node.js that we're going to, well, see it more deeply later. But basically, you can just use any npm package in this component, and the use of this component is going to be reflected in that section. So now let's, I think that's clear about what is a task and what other features are going to consume the credits. So now let's analyze this agent that was created using Agent Weaver. So from each of these workflows, we can see that we have some things in common, which is all of them starts with this API endpoint or agent skill component. All of them, they have that component at the beginning. And the end of these workflows is the API output component. Now, all the workflows in SmythOS, they need to start with this API endpoint or agent skill component. But the API output, well, this is optional, but it is a good practice, because with this component, we can control like how our, well, the output of this workflow is going to look. We can control, we can have more control about it, but it is optional. Like, if I remove this component, yeah, it is going to keep working. And let's go in detail about how this is executed and how we can test this agent. So we can do it in here. We have this test button. If we click on it, we're going to see this sidebar. And in this sidebar, it is open by default, this chat interface. So we have all these options to test this agent. A form view, chat, LLM. We can test it using this Swagger interface. In here in the GPT section, we have some instructions about how we can like use this agent inside of the chat GPT interface. We can export also this agent as a Postman collection. Also, we can use it, this new voice embodiment chat. And here at the end, we have the MCP option because, well, we also can use an SmythOS agent in platforms that accept the MCP protocol. But, well, by default, well, when we think of an AI agent, we think of a chat interface. So, well, yeah, that's why by default we displayed this chat interface so we can test this agent. So let's just ask, let me just check what we have here. Okay, we can say generate a poem about dogs. Okay. Here, oh yeah, I just provide a wrong API key in my vault because, well, this account, I was using it for some other things. So let me just go back. So it was using a wrong API key. So I just want to use the SmythOS models. I will go back here. I will click on the agent card to see the settings. And in here in the list, here I can see that, well, one thing that maybe I can explain is that, well, all the models that are coming from my personal AI provider, they will have this personal tag in here. So that's a way you can just see the difference between those models, and the ones that are coming from SmythOS, they have the SmythOS tag in here. So, well, let's say that I want to use this Claude model. I will save, and then I will reload the chatbot. So I will try again. And you can see that, well, it is saying I will create a poem, and then the agent called this agent skill. In here, in these sections, we can see in detail like what is being sent to that agent skill and what we are getting from that agent skill. So if we open in here, we can see the matching in here. The inputs of this agent skill are topic, style, length, and mood. And in this section, we can see what information was sent to those inputs: topic, docs, style, length, and mood. And in this other section, we can see the output that we are getting from here. So in this case, we have two parameters in this output, which are poem and title. And in here, we can see that we have that, like the poem and the title.
Maybe you can show it with debug mode, Raul, so we can see clearly how it runs. But by turning on debug mode and asking the chatbot so that the attendees can see how the call happens and the step-by-step execution.
Okay, Yeah, let's do that. But well, yeah, this section are really helpful in cases you want to check what you're getting.
Yeah, so turn on the debug mode, refresh the chatbot, and then ask the same question so that we see the difference between debug mode and the normal mode.
Okay, so now we just turn on the debugger, and you will see these other controls that for now are disabled because we are not in an execution. And let's refresh the chatbot, and we will ask the same request. But in this case, we will have the control of the execution because the debugger is on. So the same as the previous example, the agent is calling the same agent skill, but in this case, it is waiting for us to control and continue with the execution. And in here, you can see that the debugger controls now are enabled. The first one is the step button, so you can just execute component by component. The next one is the run. With this button, you can just run the full workflow, and the stop, that will it is just going to stop the execution. So now that the agent is calling this agent skill, this first component was already executed with information that was sent from this chat interface. So in here you can check that it was sent docs, free, verbs, medium, and mood. So if we hover over the inputs and outputs in this component, we can check what is the information that was sent. And in this case, you can see that the same information. In topic, we have docs, free verbs, medium, and heartwarming. And since these outputs are connected to this next component, that information is also going to be here. And you can see that, yeah.
We also have a question. It says, does the change to the LLM get applied to all the components, or can I have a different LLM for each component?
Oh, yeah. For example, in this case, in this workflow, we have this GenAI LLM that is going to generate the poem, and we can just click on here in the settings. And in here, we can select like a specific LLM that is going to be used for this specific LLM component. So yes, we can do that. So let's continue with this execution. And you can see that this component is highlighted in green, like the board is in green. So that means that it's ready to be executed. All the input information is satisfied. So if I click on the step button in here, it's going to be executed. Okay, it was executed. And now, so the outputs of this component are going to be generated. So we have our outputs in here. And here we have two, poem and the title. And well, in here we can see that information generated.
So I want to highlight this part in SmythOS. So as you can see, while Raul is executing the components step by step, here this is a very simple example. It's like a 3 steps workflow. But imagine when you will have like multiple step scenarios and or more complex workflows. The debugger is very powerful in analyzing what's happening exactly inside your tool calls. So it's not just a black box. You really control what your agent is doing in every skill that you implement.
Yes. So it is a really powerful tool because yeah, you can examine it component by component, the information that is and how it's been passing from component by component. And well, yeah, lastly, we just have pending this last component to be executed. And so let's click step. So now the workflow was executed. That information, this output information, is going to be sent back to the chatbot. And the chatbot is going to use that information to generate this like human-friendly response. So now another frequent question is like, what is visible for the agent? Because yeah, it's a common question, like what is visible for this orchestrator, like this main model. So the first thing that is visible is, well, the behavior field, like this main prompt. This is going to be used by the agent all the time to generate the responses. Then the agent skills are visible for the agent, and specifically the skill name. In here, if you open the settings of API endpoint agent skill component, from here, the skill name is visible for the agent. So it is going to be used by the agent to decide which skill is going to be executed. Like if I ask generate a poem, well, the agent is going to be use this one because of the name. The name needs to be really clear. Then we have the instructions field. This is really useful if you have some specific instructions about how this agent skill needs to be executed. If you have some instructions like, I don't know, the format of the input, the format of the outputs, I don't know, that kind of details, you can put those instructions in here in the instructions field. And well, in this tooltip, you can see that this information is exposed to an LLM, to the AI. And yeah, then the inputs are also visible to the agent, all these topic, style, length, mood. And if we go into the edit of this input, what is visible also to the agent, it is this, the behavior field. So if you have specific information about this input, like again, the format, for example, let's say that I want this topic information to be in a specific format or some detail, really a specific detail about this input, well, you can put also that in here, and this is going to be visible for the agent. So you can also command the execution of the agent in that way. Then, well, the internal information of the workflow, for example, in this case, this LLM, that is not visible to the agent. But you can make it visible, but by default, it is not. Like, so if you are expecting to the agent to have some knowledge about the configuration of the internal component of a specific workflow, then that is not going to work. Then it is visible the output of the response of this execution of this workflow. So with all that information, you can really organize better how you are building your agent. Like instead of putting all the instructions in here in the main behavior field, you can put the most general instructions in here, and then, well, keep organizing specific things for a specific agent skill in their respective settings. Like if the most general in the main behavior field, then you can put more specific instructions in each agent skill, keeping the skill names clear. If you have some specific instruction of some input, you can put it in the behavior field of the specific input, so you have all the information more organized. So let's also inspect other ways to execute this, because the main is the chat. But well, I know that the first thing that comes to our mind when we think of AI agents is a chat interface, but it's not the only way that we can use them. So we can also use these agents as simple API endpoints. So in here, if we click on the test on the API tab, we will see a Swagger interface. And in here, we will have all our agent skills, but as API endpoints. So we can execute it also directly, each API endpoint, each workflow isolated. And this is useful when we want to build agents that, well, they are not going to be interacted through a chat interface, like they are not going to be exposed to an AI. Let's say that you are building an agent or a workflow that is going to be integrated in your personal project, in some application. Well, you can just integrate your SmythOS agent just by calling this agent skill as simple API endpoints. So that's a really useful way to use them also. So we can execute, and we can use the same way as the chat. So we can use also the debugger, and we can click try it out. And let's just provide the inputs. Again, you can see that it's calling, and again, since the debugger is on, we can have the control of the execution. So we can, again, debug if something is wrong, we can change and inspect step by step the execution of this workflow. In this case, I'm just going to click run to complete the execution. And once the execution is finished, well, here we have the response body, and here are our results, the same that we have here. Then another way to test this is also through this form. In here, we will see a list of our agent skills. In this case, we have 3. So we can select one of them, click test. Well, by default, we're going to have the inputs pre-populated using AI. So we can use this because it's just for testing purposes. Click run. And again, we will have our outputs and results in here. Then another way to use an agent, it is with the embodiment agent LLM. Using this way, we can just call like the whole agent using it as a regular LLM. So you can use the OpenAI SDK to just call it. In here, we have some examples. For example, with Node.js, using a simple HTTP request, Python, JSON, and well, you can also create some keys to secure these. And yeah, so this is also, again, really useful if you want to integrate like a whole agent in, let's say, an application, and just by calling a single call, managing this agent as a regular LLM, and you can have access to the whole agent using this option. Then the GPT, well, we already discussed this. You just have to follow these instructions. You just have to provide this information, follow step by step these instructions in the ChatGPT interface, and you're going to be able to use the SmythOS agent in ChatGPT as a custom GPT. Postman, well, since you already saw that we can execute the agent as a simple API endpoints, well, you can also export this whole bunch of agent skill as API endpoints in a Postman collection. So, well, by just clicking on here, you're going to get the Postman collection file. You can import it in Postman, and you can use the agent there. The voice embodiment, in here you have a direct link. If I click on it, well, let me explain about voice embodiment. The voice embodiment, it will require the use of your personal OpenAI API key for the moment. And yeah, so you will require to, that's required, the OpenAI API key to use the voice embodiment chat. And finally, MCP, it is really straightforward how you can just use the agent in a, well, as a MCP server. You have in here two links, MCP dev URL and MCP prod URL. The prod URL, as you can see in here, it says agent is not deployed yet, because we just create this agent and it's not deployed yet. But as soon as the agent is deployed, we will get also the prod URL. And by just providing this URL in, let's say, platform like VS Code or Cursor that accept the MCP protocol, you're going to be able to use this agent also in those platforms. So let's deploy this agent. If we click here, deploy, we will see three options in here. The default one is agent cloud, which means that the agent is going to be deployed in the SmythOS platform. It's going to be hosted in the SmythOS platform. And here you can customize the version. In the subdomain, you have this dropdown, and by default, SmythOS is going to provide a subdomain, so you can deploy the agent there, but you can also provide a custom subdomain. And here you have a link. If I click here, I'm going to be redirected to the subdomain section. So in here, you can just add the custom subdomain that you have. In this case, you can see that this account has this subdomain at. So that's why in this dropdown, besides the default SmythOS subdomain, I have this other, my custom subdomain, and I can deploy the agent there. And optional, the release notes. This is just, well, to handle better the versions of your agent. So if I click deploy, then I will have this second step of the deploy process that shows all the options that you have to use your agent as a custom GPT, chatbot, LLM, API, MCP, voice, for preview. And in the domains tab, you will have the two domains, test domain and the prod domain. The prod domain is going to always reflect the latest deployed version of your agent. Like, for example, I just deployed the agent. If I do changes now to this agent, delete some component or add some more agent skills, those changes that are not deployed are going to be already reflected in the test domain. But once I deploy it again, those changes are going to be reflected then in the prod domain. So every time that you deploy an agent, that version is going to be available here in the deploy sidebar. So in here, you will see a changelog list. In here are going to be displayed all the deployed versions that you did. and with the option to restore that version. So also a good practice if you don't want to lose some changes that you're doing to your agent, it is just deploying the agent. So that version of the agent is going to be kept in this place. And if by any chance, you want to get that version again, well, you just click restore version, and that version is going to be restored.
So one thing very important here, Raul, and thank you for bringing this. So we use this system with dev URL, prod URL, dev version, prod version to match also the enterprise requirements, because usually when you build an agent, you are making changes. You do not want these changes to go live until you are 100% sure that they are stable. So you will have like a previous deployed version to prod, and this prod URL in every use case that Raul showed, as a chatbot, as API, as MCP, as other integrations, you always have a dev URL and a prod URL. So you distribute your agent as using the production URLs or production IDs, so that you make sure that this version is the stable one. And you can safely make changes to your dev agent. Everything you make here in the Visual Builder will be reflected to the dev version only. Once you are happy, you deploy it, and it's immediately reflects everywhere where you distributed your agent. So you can use it if you are like a single developer. You can use it as a way to keep version history of your agents. Or if you are working for an enterprise or customers, you can use it to handle a good life cycle of your software distribution.
Yes, the deployment option is really useful to keep that history. And well, yeah, one detail also that I remember about the debugger is that we just saw how to use the chatbot with the debugger, but you can also use the debugger only, and you can execute a whole workflow or a specific component in isolation. So this is also useful when you are developing a really big workflow and you don't want to test from the beginning to the end and execute the whole workflow to see how it's behaving. You can just execute one single component that is inside the workflow. And a good thing is also that you're going to get by default the previous information of the inputs and outputs that you get from the last execution that you did in the workflow. So in this case, you can see that from the last execution of this workflow, the inputs are here. So I can retest this specific component using the information generated from the last execution.
Raul, we have a question. Can you export/back up your agent?
Oh, yeah. So in the canvas, we have a menu. You just have to right click and you will have the options in here, export agent. If you click on it, you will get a file here with the Smith extension. And the only thing that you can just share this file with someone, and that person can just import that in their SmythOS account, or you can just keep it in some drive or some place as a backup if you don't want to lose that information. And yeah, that you can do that.
And you can re-import an agent by creating an empty agent and drag drop your .smith file in the Canva. This will import your .smith file.
Yes. For example, I just create an empty agent, and I will just drag and drop. You will see this prompt. you click yes, import, and you will get the same agent in here.
And there is also another interesting feature for drag drop. You see a prompt, so you are wondering why does SmythOS prompt you before importing this? It's because we support two file formats. If you drag drop a .smith file, it will be imported as an agent. But if you have a Postman collection with API calls, you can also drag drop it inside SmythOS Canvas, and it will be detected. And for every API call, you will have an API call Smith component created for you. So this is useful, for example, if you want to create an agent that makes API calls that you already tested with Postman, you drag drop your collection, your API calls will be created for you, and then you can just connect them to your agent skills.
Yes, that's also a really useful feature because, well, the API call component is one of the most powerful tools that we have because, well, you can connect to any external services using auth, if the API needs auth, proxies, well, and yeah, it has a lot of settings in here, and maybe you, I don't know, you don't want to just translate all that information in here in these settings. You can just use the option that, just to export the Postman collection and import in the agent, and you will get an API call component.
Yeah, maybe we will dedicate a webinar just to this component because there are many possibilities, and it's pretty powerful, and also it will require time to cover all the features.
Yeah. And well, yeah, I just remember, well, one thing that we can explain is that besides the export agent, we have the search option. So in here, this is really useful if you have a lot of components in the agent to just find the one that you want. You can just type in here the name of the component and you will find it. Or the copy paste, with that functionality, you can just duplicate the component. So if you right click on the component that you want to copy and you go to any other place in the canvas and click paste, then you will duplicate that component. And the same if you select multiple components, copy and paste. And what the deletion of the multiple components can be also done in that way. If I select some components and click delete, I will delete those components. And you can do the same with the keyboard shortcuts, Control-C, Control-V, and the delete key. So yeah, I think that we covered like the most basic things on SmythOS. So yeah, we can answer some questions if we have.
Thank you,
You are
Raul.
muted. Yeah.
And thank you, Alan Dean, so much for that. We did have a few questions. We've only got a few minutes left before we went over a little bit, but I think this is really important stuff. So folks can see that, there's so many options, and SmythOS is very robust. While we used, writing a poem in this instance, but think about all the opportunities that you have to create that agent of your choice. We did have a few questions before that people sent in ahead of time. Let's see if I can. Alan Dean, you may be able to get to them quicker than I can.
Yeah, give me a second.
And we'll get to them.
Yeah, okay. So we had a question about contributions. So we have someone who contributed to SmythOS, and he said, I'm interested in how community-driven contributions like connectors and testing can align with SmythOS Enterprise SaaS roadmap. how do you envision open source contributions being integrated into production deployments and SaaS offerings? So SmythOS is composed of two parts. There is the SRE. This is the core of SmythOS, the Smith runtime environment. And on top of this SRE, we have the SDK. This is the developer-friendly way to create agents in code. And then we have the visual builder. The visual builder also comes in two flavors. One is community version that was released just today. It's also open source. And then finally, we have the SaaS version. So everything that the community contributes with becomes part of the SRE under MIT license, which means it's open source and free to use with no conditions. The SaaS uses SRE, so it means that every feature available to the SRE will potentially end being used in the SaaS. Not at the same time, because the SaaS will require more testing, and we need to make sure that it passes more tests than the community version, because it has some specificities related to enterprise requirements. But at the end of the day, every contribution to SRE is potentially part of the SaaS or of the community visual builder.
Thank you so much, Alandine. I think that follows, most open source practices where it's open source first, then it's validated, it's hardened, and then if it's deemed like it fits with that enterprise level or whatever the next step is, it becomes, our open source piece is like the upstream of our SaaS piece. So I think it follows very much in line with what you're seeing across open source.
Yeah. And just to make sure that they cover part of the question, I'm not sure if this is what this user meant by his question. Like, if you are concerned about the license of your code, so everything that goes into SRE is under MIT license. So it doesn't matter if it's used on the SaaS version; it remains under MIT license. We will not we are not interfering with this. It's just because we use SRE, so we benefit from the components that are published there, and people are free to take this code, update it, modify it, and do whatever they want with it.
Thank you. I think we had another question was, how can you integrate SmythOS with Claude? So do you want to address that?
Yeah, so here I don't know if it's Claude in general or Claude Code, because there is a part of the question that seems to be talking about like junior dev SP. So using Claude in SmythOS is just like using any LLM. If you can configure, as Raul showed, you can configure your agent to use Claude. You can have components that use Claude. Now, if you want like a deep integration with Claude, we can imagine many scenarios depending on what you want to build. You can make, for example, Smith agents that you expose as MCPs and use them in Claude Code to augment the capabilities of Claude as well, and so forth. So if this user is here and can specify what does he mean by Claude, is it Claude Code or like Claude models in general, we can probably give a more specific answer.
We can follow up with that in that, but we're at time. We're a little bit over, so let me say thank you to everybody. We can tackle that other question about N8N on the next webinar, or maybe we can even do a blog post about it. But I want to say thank you to everyone who joined. Thank you to everyone who listened live, and for everyone who's joining us on the recording after the fact, thank you as well. If you haven't already, check out our GitHub repo. Both our SRE and our studio is now available in our repo. We'll send out this slide with this link after the fact. We want you to spin up your first agent in Smith Forge. Take a look at that. If you need tutorials, we've got our academy. Check out our docs. They're super easy. Say hi in Discord, and don't forget, check out our YouTube channel as well. Now, this coming week, next week on 7 October will be our very first community meeting. So joining Discord is going to be very important. So join Discord, go check out our community meetings channel. And then in there is our agenda, the link to the meeting, all of that. We'll be sending it out and sharing it via Discord. So please take a moment to follow us, star us, and say hello in the community. And next week, we'll have another Agents in Action webinar. We might go over APIs, but I think we're going to do a community 101 and walk you through how to really interact with our community, how to contribute, all of those things. So we hope we'll see you next week. And there's a couple other already Agent in Actions that are on our YouTube channel. So check those out if you haven't seen them before. And again, I can't say thank you enough for joining us today, and have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.